Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Practical Pet Chat. So many things going on these days. We've got the holidays coming up, which means probably a visit to the groomer at some point. Um, Lauren, I cannot think of a better person to ask than you about how to set myself up for success with grooming visits.
So, yeah, I was always out front when uh dogs came in for their grooming appointments, which was sort of the catalyst for this because I heard this a million times at least. Um, First of all, set your grooming appointment and make sure you show up early so that you have time to talk with the groomer. If this is not a groomer that you're just doing the same thing as the last time that you've done the last 20 times, then you need time to talk to that groomer. The two most often asked for things from a groomer is I'd like a teddy bear cut and I'd like a puppy cut. And the problem with that is you can't get a teddy bear cut out of some certain kinds of hair. It doesn't, it's not how the hair grows. That would be like, you expecting stick straight hair to miraculously be made to look like it's a perm without going through the perm. Um, the puppy cut situation is it's almost impossible to make a adult dog look like a puppy. I mean, because they're not, right? They're an adult dog. So what happens is there's a puppy coat. And then there's a transition where the puppy coat and the adult coat are both in play, which really makes everybody crazy. And then the puppy coat finally changes over to a full adult coat, and the hair may be longer, straighter, coarser, any number of things. Um, the teddy bear cut is that round, perfect teddy bear head which I challenge you to get out of a napkin, for example. Virtually, I use the word virtually because there may be somebody out there that could do that that I'm unaware of, but I don't think it's possible. And those are the two things people want. They want that magic haircut. And it's just like your own hair. You can't go to get your hair cut and have something done that's impossible for the kind of hair that you have. When you go, you need to be sure that you have everything that's required. Grooming facilities may require shot records. Too many times people show up and they think they're going to slide without that. So take the time ahead of time to have that sent over, pick up a copy, have it dropped off before your grooming appointment, or make sure you have it with you when you go. Find out what the policies are. If you can't leave your kid there all day, don't leave your kid there all day. And can I just say, don't leave your kid there all day anyway. Book your appointment when you can actually pick your kid up following the completion of the grooming appointment. Your kid's nervous. Nobody likes to be groomed. And even the kids that are like okay with it, they still want to go home. They still want to see mom and dad. They still want to see their people. They're ready. They don't want to stick around there. There's other kids around them stressing out who maybe aren't so okay with the grooming appointment. So get over there, pick your kid up, make it short and sweet, and that you're there for them, and take them home, and all will be right in their world again. If you don't want a cologne sprayed on them, make sure you tell the groomer that because it seems to be pretty common that most groomers will spray a doggy perfume or cologne or something like that. I personally can't stand them, but I have a lot of allergies and I don't want my dog to smell like that anyway. So I always make sure that it's in my chart. You want to be sure that you are realistic in your expectations, that you articulate and ask questions that the groomer understands where your head is at. And one thing in particular that is always somewhat of a recipe for disaster is if dad is dropping off and the groomer says, "Oh, the dog is matted. We're going to have to shave it." And dad goes, oh, okay. I recommend that you have it in the chart. Never shave my dog without calling me, because the meltdown that has occurred on pickup, when mom does the pickup or when mom sees the dog after the fact and says, what did you do? Well, we got dad's permission. And dad is now going, I, I don't remember any of that, which happens a lot. So you can avoid these little disasters and hard feelings. I know hair grows, but people do not like it when they pick their dog up looking somewhat other than what they expect. I've been in situations where I've told the pet parent, listen, we don't have the kind of time to try to brush your dog out. I
Yeah.
mean, it just it's matting and it's also going to be somewhat painful. And there's a difference between matted and pelted, by the way. But it's, pet parents will be like, well, I don't want to get them shaved. Well, you could go home and try to work it out and see what you can do to get the hair brushed out without fail. Well, I take that back. I can think of two instances where the pet parent was so diligent because I said, use, a detangler, use this, use that, make sure you hold this end of the hair where it's not pulling against the skin when you're trying to work it out. What kind of tools do you have? That sort of thing. Two instances where they were able to work through and brought me a dog that I could actually cut. Everybody else was like, okay, I need an appointment. Fine, just shave her down. Like, okay, you get it. I actually love that. I love that when the pet parent has to see what it takes. And then, once the kid's hair grows out, we always gave free brushing lessons, and taught people how to actually brush through their dog's coats and make sure they have the right tools. Bring your tools in, we'll look at them because they're usually brushing on the top and not getting all the way down. And so, it's the how to avoid potential problems with a groomer, um, which is rarely the groomer's fault. I hate to say that, but if you're not communicating, you leave it to them to try to figure out what you want. Okay, you get what you get.
Without a doubt. I'm chuckling because I have been in those situations as well, and I actually have in the chart, do not touch Bella's tail. She has a little feather duster tail that is my pride and joy, and I brush it the way I want it brushed. So the rest of her can be addressed, and I'm sure they just chuckle every time. But I think one of the things too, that you hit on, but I want to make sure I drive home, is also understand what the groomer does and doesn't do. And there are things you'd be surprised how much a groomer is willing to do and can do. And they really are uh, an extension of so many things that you want done if you know that they do that. And it's not just the cleaning the ears, the taking care of the toenails, the pads, all the rest of that, right on down to anal glands. I mean, there's a whole slew of things that some groomers do, some groomers don't. And so you've got to know what's included, because that's the other area where I've seen people get upset
Mhm.
when they're picking up. Well, I really thought, well, that's not something we do. And we've never done that. But I know I got that done here 4 times ago. And, I always feel bad because it's like, well, if that was your expectation, or if it had been my expectation, I certainly would have made sure. So, what is all is being done there,
Mhm.
and how are we going to handle that? Um, the other element that I love that you called out was do it when you can pick up your pet soon thereafter. I'm going to add one more reason why to do that, and that is because I use it as a health check as well. And I will ask our groomer, hey, did you notice anything about, Bella, Sugar, Zoe? And I will tell you that had I not been so diligent after one of those visits, just a week after, I found just a little tiny, not even a ballpoint pin, knob starting to grow on Sugar's tail. And I called the groomer. I said, "Hey, did you see this? Was that there last week?" And my groomer actually will make notes of things that they observe. And
Mhm.
she said no. And I was like, for that to come up that quick, that's a concern. I've got to go get her. And sure enough, unfortunately, that was that sign of cancer that we first found with Sugar. So being able to go in and if anything, did you see? Was there anything I should be concerned about? How do her ears look? How do her teeth look? How her eyes look? They're hands on all over, which leads me to just one other thing. If you have never taken your dog to the groomer, you got some hands on work to do. And I don't mean, cutting and this and that. I'm talking about your dog needs to be comfortable. Your cat, well, cats are never comfortable with that, but your dog needs to be comfortable with hands everywhere and being able to be handled properly as well. Because that's the other thing. Zoe, um, I only could go to one groomer, and it wasn't because I didn't do the hands on, it was because her anxiety was so high and heavy when I would take her to get groomed. She could only be groomed at the same time Sugar was being groomed. And the second it was done, I had to be standing there. I had a situation one time where someone actually, hooked her to the wall. She tore the thing out of the wall, got all discombobulated. It was a bad, fail army type, situation of knocking things over. They locked her into the bathroom when she ran into the bathroom.
Oh no.
And needless to say, I never went to that groomer again. But that was that wake up call for me of, hey, I not only need to be doing more myself, but I got to make sure I've got all of this under control. And you just know. I knew because they had new groomers in that environment, which is another thing I just wanted to call out with that story is sometimes you go in the same place and it's the same people and it's just so calming and peaceful for your pet. And then
Mhm.
they've brought on new groomers where they've expanded and where they used to have two tables of grooming going on. Now they've got four, or now they've got, you got to be aware of all those things because that has an impact on the experience that your pet has. And if your pet is having a bad experience, I just, my experience is you're not going to have the outcomes you were hoping for from that grooming event. So I feel there's a lot of things that we all have to do better as pet parents. And I'm not, saying it's always our fault, but there are some things we know our pets the best. We know what we want out of this visit. We got to communicate. You and I talk about communication all the time, but communication extends as well. My daughters can take Bella to the self dog wash and do really well at one of the dog washes, and at the other, it just wasn't worth it. Dad, she just fought us the entire time. There was no way she was getting in. Which one did you go to? Yeah, she does not feel comfortable in that environment. She's never going to do that. Just that should not be. Well, it's closer. It's closer. She doesn't like it. What's our outcome here? She's stressed. You're stressed. Why did we go through that exercise? So use discretion, use your better judgment, use your communication skills, as I will often say. Use your words, girls. Use your words. I know you're thinking to yourself, no, Rob, it's you men. Use your words, men. Use your words. But I do believe there is great outcomes that can be achieved. And I know this because I've seen dogs turned into pandas. And so, therefore, I know that if we do this right, dogs will love, in particular dogs. Every cat I've ever had groomed, no, it's like just not a fun experience for any of us. Um, but that's my problem, right? Not the cat's problem, maybe the groom's problem.
Exactly.
But the dogs in particular, so much more forgiving if we set it up for success.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting though, the situation that you gave on the DIY dog wash. I just want to point out to pet parents, when you go in to get your dog groomed, don't automatically assume that because your dog immediately does an about face to walk back out the door, that they're telling you something's wrong with the place. They just don't want the experience.
That's
I mean,
good call.
yeah, you have to, I mean, yes, maybe you go a couple times when you pick your dog up and you can tell, that this just was too much. Maybe that's not the right place for your kid. To your point, too much going on, too busy, which by the way, time of day has a lot to a bearing on that because if you're going to be one of those people who goes at 9 o'clock in the morning like everybody else to drop your dog off, it's going to be way more stressful than if you do a 3 o'clock appointment.
Yeah.
Um, but expect that when your dog walks in, we used to tell people when they come in for the first time and they tell us, dog doesn't like to get groomed. Great. Why don't you just bring your dog in to visit? Several times beforehand. Get them used to us, get them used to the store, walk them around. We'll give them a couple treats, play with them, acknowledge them, talk to them, and they'll leave with you. That way they know that mom brings me here and I leave with mom. Dad says this place is cool. This is great. He's all calm when he's in here. Um, and that way, when you finally do drop them off, you're not dropping them off to strangers. They've met these people before. Yes, the back area now is going to be a strange area because they haven't been in that, but at least they know these people. At least
Right.
they, met them. We would always have the groomer come out, and, just say hi and let the dog smell her, and she'd go back in and do her thing in the back, and the dog would just leave thinking, oh, I met somebody new at the store. Um, it really, I think we have this way of just thinking we're taking our dog in and we're handing him over to a perfect stranger and we expect everything to go hunky dory. It just doesn't work that way. Your dog, unless you're getting groomed all the time. Now, my dogs are groomed every week because I had a built-in groomer in the store. So I was able to get them groomed on the regular, and they were like, oh, whatever. It's not my favorite time. I'd rather be napping, but I know all these people, and I'm 30 feet from the office where I'm usually sleeping. Um, and so they took it well. The two kids I have now, there's no way. One kid would handle it probably really well. The other kid, she doesn't like the experience at all. She doesn't want any part of it, doesn't want any part of any of the getting wet, the drying, the any pieces of herself falling off that she sees. Which think about that, guys. Think about your dog's perspective when they see parts of themselves falling off. And yes, it doesn't hurt, but oh God, there's leaving and they're taking away my smell. How will mom and dad know it's me? Because, right, that's how they identify their people. But if
Yep.
you take away their smell, they worry. That's why sometimes you'll see sibling dogs when people drop two, three dogs off at a time. And then the dogs get together, there's, at first, because there's a little bit of that. Who are you? Oh, wait. Okay, I know who you are. It happens a lot. I mean, it's really something to see. It's like, hang on a second, guys. Y'all know each other. Take a breath. And then everything calms down. But if you look at everything from the dog's perspective and you do it a little bit more with a little bit more preparation in advance, it's only going to be a better experience for everybody.
Yeah. I'm gonna end on a funny here based on something you just shared, and that was I took Bella to a dog wash myself, groomed her, got her cleaned up, just, oh, she smelled so wonderful, me, the human being. And we got home and everybody was there waiting at the door to just give her love and kudos. She tore past everybody, ran right through the screen, right out into the yard, rolled around 5 or 6 times. She had destroyed the screen, so there was nothing preventing her to come back in while still, with all the grass and everything. She's like, whew, all right, that's over. How's everybody doing? And I'm like, we just spent an hour and a half trying
Hmm?
to, I love you. And so, yeah, it was whew, quite an experience. So, yes, all that to say, you can plan, life is still going to happen. Take it with a grain of salt. we all want what's best, and sometimes you just gotta smile and go, and that's why you are so special and unique. So on that note, send me your funny stories, practicalpetchat@gmail.com. Share them on our different social media networks and all the rest of the places that you find us, listen to us, occasionally watch us. Thank you so much for taking time with us. And we know you've got a lot on your plate and your pet's plates. So please share us with somebody this week. Keep up the great work. You're a great pet parent. Thanks for joining us here on Practical Pet Chat.
Bye, guys.
The content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as, nor should it be construed as, professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment for your pets. Always seek the advice of a qualified veterinarian with any questions you may have regarding your pet's health or medical condition. Never disregard professional veterinary advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The hosts and the guests of this podcast are not liable for any actions taken based on the information shared during these episodes. Any reliance on the information provided is solely at your own risk. Copyright 2025 Practical Pet Chat, all rights reserved. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or reproduction of any content from this podcast, including but not limited to audio, scripts, and show notes, is prohibited without prior written consent. The opinions and views expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Practical Pet Chat.